Hello and welcome to Age-Friendly Maple Grove's Zoom interview series. I'm Chuck Schwalbe, your host. Age-Friendly Maple Grove is a community-driven initiative to make Maple Grove a better place to grow older. Hello, this is Chuck Schwalbe, and we are doing our Zoom interview for Age-Friendly Maple Grove. And today we have Todd Strege, who is the Crime Prevention Officer for the City of Maple Grove. Todd, thank you so much for being part of our Zoom interview today.
Yeah, no problem.
Great. So, Todd, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you function in the city of Maple Grove.
Well, I'm the crime prevention officer with Maple Grove Police Department. I've been in the police department for 13 years, and I've been doing crime prevention for almost 10 years. So a lot of the duties that I do are community outreach driven. A little bit different this year, just since a lot of that stuff is on hold. But events like National Night Out, Neighborhood Watch. I do participate with some events with Maple Grove Days, but then doing a lot of talks with neighborhoods, businesses, some of the senior buildings in town, going to their events and whatnot, and kind of a whole bunch of other stuff as well.
Trying to stay busy in this COVID time.
Yeah, it's adapting. It's a little bit different than I'm used to, but hopefully things will get back to normal sooner than later.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that was brought up with our group with Age-Friendly Maple Grove is the fact that there seems to be, and there is, I think, a lot more scams happening in the community as far as the COVID and all the other things that you see on a regular basis. But, right now, what are you seeing that, really affects the senior community that you've noticed over the last probably 4 or 5 months?
Well, we have seen some scams on COVID stuff, not, too crazy. We'll get some reports here and there where we'll see stuff on that. And a lot of them are based more on the side of like a miracle treatment or, prevention stuff, things that really don't exist. Some of it is businesses that are maybe stretching their products a little bit further than they should. And I know those have been dealt with, in their own way. But I mean, we've seen stuff like that, but a lot of times too, it's just an increase in a lot of other scams that we see throughout the regular time of the year or just in general. So, I mean, we still see the grandparent scam. We still see, a lot of the other generic ones where they're just trying to push people into making a bad decision. But we've seen, especially in the last couple months, a lot of unemployment scams.
Okay.
So that's, and even just unemployment fraud to where they're utilizing people's identity to try and file and get benefits.
How do they do that? What's the process that happens?
Well, a lot of that stuff, I mean, I don't know the number of reports we've taken. I feel like I read dozens of them, but a lot of that is someone that had already fallen victim. They were already the victim of an identity theft. So their personal information is already out there, and whomever obtained it, is going and essentially trying to file for benefits. And this person will, get a letter from the state or get contacted, and they're working or they have a job, and they get this letter questioning why they're, essentially filing for these benefits.
Right.
So that's been a common one we've seen quite a bit too.
Okay. What do you say to people to basically protect themselves from, I guess, all of these different scams that are out there? What's the approach people should know, and also what they should do if they get a call or a letter or something like that? And what's the best way to kind of stop that from happening?
Well, the big thing that I encourage a lot of the seniors and just residents in general, don't rush into anything. Most of the time, if it's too good to be true, it is.
Exactly.
And the big thing that we'll see is it'll be an unsolicited phone call. They'll get contacted, and the person that's trying to scam them it's all about urgency. They're trying to get them to make a decision right now. You need to do it now. They push them. They don't allow anyone, the time to think about it or do their research or sleep on it.
Right.
That's how a lot of those scams become successful, is they just push the envelope in the way of you need to do it right now, and they don't allow anyone to think about it. So a lot of it, that I encourage is just slow down. Nothing, you don't need to do it right this second. do your homework, do your research, figure out, who it is and what they're doing. Another big one too is we'll get people that'll obviously impersonate other entities, and if you don't contact your bank on your own, or you don't contact this utility company on their own, they don't call you up out of the blue just to verify personal information.
Right.
And that's another one too, where someone will just get a phone call and they'll claim that they're whatever utility company or whatever business, and try to, can you verify your social security? Can you verify this and that? And try to obtain your personal information that way to then use it for scams.
And that's probably the number one thing that I have heard and people have said, and you've reiterated, and that is, do not ever give out your social security number, no matter who it is on the phone or who's sending you a letter, whatever the case may be.
Yep.
And that's number one, right?
Yeah, I mean, no business, no entity is going to call you up over the phone and out of the blue and just verify that. If you call your bank or you call, some utility company, whatever, if you're the one prompting that and you're calling a verified number on a bill or, what have you, they'll do that to verify identity. But those companies don't call you out of the blue and do
Right.
that. And the other thing too that we see some of is government agencies, particularly the IRS.
Yes.
They don't call you. They're always going to send you a letter.
Right.
And that's another common one that we always see in the springtime, just during that period where taxes are being filed. So that's another one too, to where, and honestly, we've even seen a few, and I believe we put this out through our channels, through the police department, but we even had a scammer who was essentially trying to impersonate a police officer in Maple Grove, and that's one that we've seen in the past too, and I know other police agencies have, where they'll call up and claim that, you have a warrant or something and it needs to be paid or dealt with or resolved right now. And the other side of that too that I'll throw out is, if anyone ever calls you up, and this is what was happening with the police officer scam, they were essentially requiring payment in the form of a gift card. So, I mean, if any entity ever calls you up over the phone and they're looking for you to pay with a Visa gift card or whatever, it's almost always a scam.
Exactly.
Yeah, the IRS isn't looking for payment in a Visa gift card, or police don't do that either.
Right.
So that's almost always a scam.
Yeah, and that's one that I've definitely heard people, running somewhere to get a gift card so that they can stop the warrant. And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. But I think the way they do it is they set you up as in such a fear, and tactic of fear that, that's why what you said before is so important. Stop.
Yeah.
Hang up the phone. Don't let them keep you talking or whatever, and just stop and think about it, that it's not something that's going to happen in the real world.
A lot of it is taking the time to just slow down.
Right.
And that's the whole thing, like I had mentioned before, is for the scammers, it's all about urgency. They're just trying to push it as far as it's got to happen now. And they want people to, not take the time to think or be impulsive and just go and do it. So, and I do have to give some kudos out to some of our businesses in town, because we have seen it happen where someone will go in and they'll try to buy a Visa gift card, and it'll be the cashier at the store that'll ask them, what are you doing this for? And then they'll kind of, I was contacted by this person or this or that. And we've had cashiers in town that have even helped prevent this, because they'll recognize it, and then they'll try to get the person to hold off, or even if it's call us and have an officer come out and talk to that individual too. But we've had that happen too, and at least it's nice to see that it's, other people are looking out for our seniors as well.
Now, is that something that, as far as reporting, when someone does pull the scam or try to pull a scam on you, you take your advice and slow down and think about it, then what should they do to report it? How should they report something like that? So that it is evident that's out there.
Yeah, and they can always file a report with, whether it's us or their local police department. I mean, obviously, if you live in Maple Grove, you're gonna talk with us about it. But first and foremost, you're welcome to file a police report with your local police department to start with. It'll always depend on the circumstances of the case as to what we can and can't do.
Correct.
But I mean, filing a report certainly is, kind of that first step. The other one and a website that I'll give out as a resource, it's called ic3.gov. And it's a website that's actually run by the FBI. And I'm going to pull it up quick just so I don't say it wrong. But it's the Internet Crime Complaint Center. So through their website, they actually have an online submission form that you can go in and kind of fill out the details. Because if someone contacts you and they attempt to do a scam, but you don't fall victim to it, you
Right.
pick out the fact that it's a scam, you hang up on them. This is a good avenue to where you can go on and fill out all the information and submit it. And on a national level, what the FBI does is they look at these incidents and they work to aggregate them together
Okay.
throughout the country. Because the issue that we run into is it's not like these the scammers, it's not like they're operating out of someone's house in, Maple Grove.
Right.
They're utilizing the internet and they're oftentimes not even in our own country. So at this level, it allows them to look at it on a broader scale and kind of link those cases together, whether there is a loss of money or not. But they can at least look to aggregate those cases and then trace them backwards and work to target those problem call centers that are doing this outside of the country.
Now you said that, so it's the letter I, the letter C, and the number 3.
Correct.
.gov.
Yep.
So we really want to make sure people understand that's a site where they can actually put a complaint, I guess, for a scam. So that
Yep.
would be a very important piece of the puzzle.
And if you go on their website too, they do have a consumer alert section. So they have posts as far as kind of updates and stuff that they see on that level.
Okay.
Another resource too is even our own Minnesota Attorney General's office. They have a pretty good a literature section on their website, and they'll dive down into a lot of specific scams, and they'll kind of dissect them and how they operate, how they work. And
Okay.
they even have an online submission form on their website where you can submit this information to.
Would that just be attorneygeneral.gov again, or?
Yeah, that one. Even if you just do a web search for Minnesota Attorney General,
Okay.
you'll find it.
Because we want to make sure that we give this information out as much as possible, at the end of this to let people know what they can do, and we'll try and get those websites so people can see there are resources for them to go to and find out, as well as put their information down and help maybe someone in the future, or maybe even close down some of these scams that are out there, which would be really great. So I really think that the issue here is to slow down whenever it happens and think about it. That really makes sense. And then also reporting it is probably the second most important thing, because you want other people to know. You want to get that information out there. So,
well, one thing that I tell a lot of residents, just through my contacts is, we don't know about a problem unless we're told about it. And it's kind of that simple. We don't, not just with scams, but with thefts or burglaries or, anything.
right.
If we're not told, if there's not communication where we're informed that it's happening and that it's going on, we don't know to address it. We don't know to look for it. And then there's also that educational component too, to where if we see that it's happening, we can help get the word out to forewarn other people too.
Yeah, and that's great advice, especially for our age-friendly community that's out there in different places and different communities, that they're looking for protection, but also they need to report and communicate these things so that you're aware of it. And if you're aware of it, then you can be heightened as far as what's happening in that community. So I think that our older group needs to realize that we need to make a call when something's going on. So is there anything else that you would suggest for scams, but also you've made such a great impact in just communicating and letting people know? Is there anything else you'd want to share with our age-friendly community that you think is important from all the perspectives that we've talked about?
Well, the big thing that I would just push is if you need us, don't be afraid to call. So our officers are around 24/7, and that's not going to change, and they're going to be available to assist. And we'd rather get the phone call and do the best we can to help out than to not get a call at all.
That's great advice. Todd, thank you so much for taking the time today to do a Zoom interview for Age-Friendly Maple Grove. We really appreciate it. Stay safe out there and continue to do this great work. So thank you again. And just to everybody out there, stay safe, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right, thank you.
The City of Maple Grove is a member of the World Health Organization and AARP, network of age-friendly states and communities. Since 2016, we have been working on a variety of issues to make sure that older residents can live active, purposeful lives in our city.